Thick, blinding mist rolls off the jagged mountains, swallowing the cracked asphalt below. Inside a cramped metal cockpit, patience is running out. Hours of delays, mounting frustration, and strict corporate schedules have created a psychological pressure cooker. Out there in the soup, two massive, steel leviathans carrying hundreds of unsuspecting souls are maneuvering blindly. They can't see each other. The control tower can't see them. The only thing separating them from absolute catastrophe is a single voice on a crackling radio. But what happens when that voice is misunderstood? It is March 27, 1977, a Sunday, for the hundreds of passengers aboard two Boeing 747s. This was supposed to be the start of a dream vacation. Pan Am Flight 1736, a majestic jet named Clipper Victor, historically famous as the very first 747 to fly a commercial route, is packed with American retirees headed for a Mediterranean cruise. Nearby, KLM Flight 4805, carrying mostly Dutch families, has just arrived from Amsterdam. Both flights are perfectly routine. The crews are highly experienced. The aircraft are marvels of modern engineering. Everything is entirely under control. They are supposed to be landing at Gran Canaria, a sunny paradise in the Canary Islands. But at 1:15 p.m., the illusion of safety shatters. A bomb, planted by a separatist group, explodes in the Gran Canaria airport terminal. The authorities immediately close the airport. Incoming flights are forced into a holding pattern, and ultimately, diverted to a small regional airstrip on the neighboring island of Tenerife, Los Rodeos. Los Rodeos is not built for this. It has only one runway and a single parallel taxiway. Suddenly, this quiet airstrip is crammed with 5 large airliners. The diverted planes take up so much space that they are forced to park on the taxiway itself, completely blocking it. To take off, departing planes will have to taxi down the active runway in the wrong direction to get into position. It is a logistical nightmare. But for now, it seems like just an inconvenience. Just a frustrating delay. In the cockpit of the KLM jet sits Captain Jacob Veldhuizen van Zanten. He is not just a pilot, he is KLM's chief flight instructor. His face is literally featured in the airline's promotional magazines. He is aviation royalty, with over 11.00 flight hours. His authority on the flight deck is absolute. As they wait for Gran Canaria to reopen, Captain van Zanten makes a decision. To save time later, he decides to fully refuel his 747 right there in Tenerife. It is a logical shortcut. It seems perfectly reasonable at the time. But this decision is the first domino to fall. Because just as the fueling begins, Gran Canaria reopens. The Pan Am crew, eager to leave, is ready to go, but they are trapped. The massive KLM jet, surrounded by fuel trucks, is blocking their path. The Pan Am 747 tries to squeeze past, but falls short by a mere 12 feet. They are forced to sit and wait for 35 agonizing minutes. During this wait, the environment betrays them. Los Rodeos sits at an elevation of over 2.00 feet. A phenomenon unique to this airport begins to occur. Coastal clouds blow in, descending directly onto the tarmac. Visibility drops from clear skies to a dense, blinding fog in a matter of minutes. Captain van Zanten is now battling the clock. Due to strict Dutch labor laws, if he doesn't depart soon, his crew will exceed their legal duty hours, forcing the flight to be grounded overnight. The pressure to get into the air is immense. The tower instructs the KLM jet to taxi down the entire length of the single runway, turn 180 degrees, and wait for takeoff clearance. Shortly after, the Pan Am jet is told to follow the KLM down the same runway, but to exit onto a side taxiway so the runway is clear for the KLM's departure. The fog is now so thick that visibility is barely 300 feet. The tower has no ground radar. The controllers cannot see the planes. The planes cannot see each other. They are navigating completely blind. The tower tells the Pan Am crew to take the third exit, but the taxiways are unmarked. The angle of the third exit requires a near impossible 148-degree turn for a massive 747. Unsure of their position, the Pan Am crew misses the third exit in the fog, continuing toward the fourth, which makes much more physical sense for their giant aircraft. Meanwhile, at the end of the runway, the KLM 747 completes its 180-degree turn. Captain van Zanten advances the throttles. The plane begins to move forward. His first officer, Class Meurs, immediately stops him. "Wait, we don't have ATC clearance." Van Zanten pulls the throttles back. "No, I know that," he says. "Go ahead, ask." First Officer Mears radios the tower. He receives the route clearance, the path they will fly after takeoff. But crucially, he does not receive the clearance to actually begin the takeoff roll. But Captain Van Zanten has already made up his mind. He is under pressure. He interrupts his first officer. "We're going." Intimidated by the chief instructor, Mears tells the tower, "We are now at takeoff." It is a non-standard, highly ambiguous phrase. The controller, confused, assumes they are simply holding in position. He replies, "Okay." In the aviation world, "okay" means nothing, but in the KLM cockpit, it sounds like permission. The controller immediately adds, "Stand by for takeoff. I will call you." At that exact same millisecond, the Pan Am crew radios the tower, "We're still taxiing down the runway." Clipper 1736. If the KLM crew hears either of these messages, they will stop, but they don't, because both radios transmit at the exact same moment. They cancel each other out. Inside the KLM cockpit, a loud, 3-second shrill of static, a heterodyne blasts through the speakers. The warnings vanish into the static. The KLM jet begins to accelerate. A moment later, the tower asks the Pan Am to report when the runway is clear. The Pan Am replies, "Okay, we'll report when we're clear." In the KLM cockpit, the flight engineer hears this. A wave of dread washes over him. He turns to the pilots. Is he not clear? That Pan American? Captain Van Zanten doesn't hesitate. His absolute authority overrides the engineer's doubt. "Oh, yes," he says emphatically. The throttles stay pushed forward. The engines roar. Speed builds. 100 knots. 120 knots. Through the dense fog, aboard the Pan Am jet, Captain Victor Grubbs peers out the window. A glow of landing lights pierces the mist. There he is. Grubbs shouts. The lights are moving fast. Too fast. Goddamn, that son of a bitch is coming. First Officer Robert Bragg screams, "Get off! Get off! Get off!" Grubbs slams the throttles to maximum power. He desperately yanks the massive plane to the left, aiming for the grass. In the KLM cockpit, Van Zanten sees the Pan Am silhouette emerge from the fog. It is too late. They are moving at 160 miles per hour. They cannot stop. In a desperate bid for survival, Van Zanten prematurely yanks the yoke back, forcing the nose up. The tail of the KLM jet drags violently along the concrete, shooting a 72-foot trail of sparks into the fog. The KLM jet lifts off the ground. It is not enough. The landing gear and lower fuselage of the KLM 747 strike the upper right side of the Pan Am jet. It rips the roof off the Pan Am directly behind the cockpit. The KLM jet struggles into the air for a few agonizing seconds. But its engines are shredded. Its wings are violently crippled. It stalls, rolls sharply, and slams back into the earth, sliding 1,000 feet down the runway. The massive load of fuel, the extra fuel Captain Van Zanten had pumped in to save time, ignites instantly. The KLM jet is engulfed in a catastrophic fireball. All 248 people on board perish. On the Pan Am jet, chaos reigns. The upper deck is utterly destroyed. Fire rips through the cabin. Passengers, mostly elderly retirees, are trapped in a burning metal tube. Survivors scramble blindly through the smoke, dropping 20 feet from the intact left wing to the tarmac below. Rescue takes agonizing minutes. The firefighters, blinded by the fog and smoke, initially only see the burning KLM wreck. They don't even realize a second 747 is involved until the Pan Am survivors emerge from the mist like ghosts. In total, 335 people on the Pan Am flight die. 583 lives gone. When the fires were finally extinguished and the ashes cooled, the investigators moved in. They looked for mechanical failure. They found none. They looked for sabotage. There was none. The cause was chillingly simple: ambiguous radio communication. Assumptions instead of confirmation. Authority overriding doubt. Poor visibility. Human pressure. One sentence. Understood the wrong way. After Tenerife, aviation changed forever. Standard phraseology became mandatory. The word takeoff is now strictly forbidden until the exact moment clearance is granted. Crew Resource Management, or CRM, was introduced. Co-pilots were no longer just subordinates. They were actively encouraged to challenge their captains. The cockpit became a team, not a dictatorship, not because technology failed, but because humans misunderstood each other. The deadliest accident in aviation history didn't begin with fire. It began with words. This is human error files. Because sometimes, the most dangerous thing in the system is not the machine. It's the human voice. And this disaster could have been avoided. Thank you so much for liking the video, subscribing, and watching this video to the end. Let me know what you think of this tragedy in the comments below.